Lopez wants it away. And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza and the Mets lead 3-2. Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened! This is one of the great moments in the history of baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mets fans of all ages, here is your host, Nick Durst. Hello, Mets fans. Welcome back to the edition of Bleav in the Mets. I'm your host, Nick Durst. And they did it. The Mets finally did it. They won a series. Very excited about that. We are live on YouTube. Yuki Matsui says, hey, how you doing, Yuki? We're also live on Twitter, and we are live on Facebook. And, of course, we are, more importantly, hopefully you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple. Make sure you leave 5-star reviews. Let everybody know what a great podcast it is. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, as always. So the Mets win the first series. I thought the Reds were going to win the series. I thought the Braves are going to then win the series. So things are going better on this road trip than they were at home, that's for sure. So joining me now to discuss this, a guy who was at every single home game, suffered through the rain, but it's okay because he got paid. He's a friend of mine, a former colleague, and I'm going to bring him in right now. He is a 3-time Emmy Award winner with the MLB Network as a researcher. He is my good friend, Matt. Matt, welcome in. Let everybody know what your tie is to the Mets currently.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Nick. As you just mentioned, I'm a 3-time Emmy Award-winning baseball researcher, currently working in the productions department for the Mets, and we are responsible for all of that great in-game entertainment that you see at Citi Field on our large, marvelous scoreboard out in center field. So my particular job is keeping the fans both informed and entertained during the game of latest developments involving player milestones, such as Pete Alonso recently getting his 500th career RBI, alerting fans of that kind of thing, writing statistical notes and trivia segments for the scoreboard, preparing other in-game entertainment, such as trivia questions, writing scripts for on-field ceremonies. So I am heavily involved with a lot of those notifications and entertaining little tidbits and nuggets that you see on the scoreboard at Citi Field.
Just awesome stuff there. So when you go to the game, you will see Matt's work, of course. Matt, what was it like with that? The rain out, being there. You had to wait till 9 o'clock for the game to be canceled and back for the doubleheader. I mean, it had to be kind of eerie, the doubleheader. There wasn't that many people there.
Yeah, it kind of had me flashing back to the COVID season when we had to pump in the audio into the ballpark because it was empty. But, first week of the season, the weather has not been cooperating, obviously, here on the East Coast, playing teams that are not division rivals, and obviously the rain out. So it was just like the team. In some ways, it was tough for everybody to get going and to progress with the season. But you know what? That's what that first week is for, is just to get everything, get all the kinks out and to work through all those issues. And I think from our end in entertainment, we had a successful first week. And, hopefully with this road trip, the team is getting back on track as well.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the entertainment in a moment with Edwin Diaz, obviously, with the new lights. But let's talk about it. The Mets, they win their first series of the season. And I didn't see this coming. Maybe you did. You watched the team a little more closely the first week of the season. But a stunning win on Friday, which I did not watch because I don't have Apple TV and I refused to get it to watch the Met games. I was so mad 2 years ago when Max Scherzer's first start was on Apple. But that annoyed me. But the game's on Apple. The Mets win. Rough plus Saturday, where they scored 7 runs, but they just played atrocious defensively and bad pitching, and they don't win. And then Sunday, they win a nail biter. Lindor finally gets things going offensively there. And now today, no surprise, Yohan Ramirez is DFA'd. I could have told you that before the season started. When I saw him on the roster, I said he's going to be out of here soon. But your takeaways from the opening road trip of the season, Matt.
Yeah, I think is certainly an improvement, especially on the offensive side for this team. First homestand, obviously they started off on a 5-game losing streak, tough way to begin a season. The bats were not clicking. They still have had a hard time, I think, having that big inning where they put 3-4 runs on the board. Seems like even when they've had bases loaded opportunities, less than 2 outs, they're not getting that big hit to empty the bases. So that has not come so far in the first week of the season. Hopefully those hits will start to fall. But I do think that they did a better job working at bats, working the count on this road trip against the Reds. You saw Nimmo start to come out of it. Jeff McNeil got off to a bad start as well. He had a home run. Like you said, Lindor, who had been in a really long hitless drought, finally got off the schneid yesterday and showed some power from the right side. So that's great to see. So hopefully those guys start to click, and you'll see some of those guys that are more in the role player type position, guys like Tyrone Taylor, Harrison Bader, contribute as well. So I think offensively they were a lot better on this road trip. You got another strong start from Sean Manaea, which is great to see. Quintana was solid as well. So I think pitching-wise, they've been pretty solid. And certainly their depth is going to be tested with in the early part of the season. I know for tonight's game, the opener in Atlanta, several of their top relievers like Edwin Diaz probably are not going to be available because they were used several times over the weekend. So pitching depth is going to be tested, but I do think offensively they showed a lot more signs of life in Cincinnati.
Yeah, they got the bats going. I guess the friendly confines out there in Cincinnati certainly help. McNeil had the home run. So right now, Matt, Alvarez leading the way, hitting average-wise. Beatty right behind him. McNeil, Lindor, Nimmo off to slow starts, especially with the averages. So if you had to bet on this and think ahead here, who is going to lead the Mets in batting average this season?
Ooh, I love that question. Batting average.
Yeah. Well, while you ponder this over, I mean, I want to let my listeners know that this is something that if you feel strongly about, you can go ahead and bet it. So Bleav Nation, listen up. Partnering with the Cut app, the social betting platform here. It's a peer-to-peer betting platform that allows you to bet directly against your buddies and other fans. So you could make up your own bets and go against each other. And this is something that you could do. You have to feel strongly about batting average. Bet your friends on that and join the Bleav the Mets crew on Cut today. It's the ultimate put your money where your mouth is platform. It's legal in many, many states. And make sure you follow Cut Bet on all social media platforms. But really, if you want a 10% deposit discount, just go to the website, go to the app, and use the promo code Bleav Mets, like you see on the screen right now if you're watching the video. Capital BLEAV, capital M, and then lowercase ETS, Bleav Mets. So, Matt, your time is up. The clock is out now.
Right.
Who is going to lead the team in batting average?
All right, so having put some thought into it while you were reading that promo beautifully, I would say I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say Starling Marte has a big bounce-back season and leads the team in average. Pete, I think, is a good lock to lead the team in home runs. Lindor, we know, has his slumps here and there, so he's probably not going to lead the team in average. Alvarez, like I said, off to a great start, but catching is going to wear on him throughout the year. So I think Marte, especially if he's bunting for hits, using his speed, he's going to get some bloops here and there. He's going to, like I said, he's going to get some bunt hits. So I'm going to say Starling Marte is going to hit 285 to 290 something, and he will be the leading average hitter on the team.
I like that guess. I mean, he's looked great so far. 2 hits yesterday's game. And right now, I'm surprised how good Alvarez is hitting for average. Brett Beatty's obviously surprising, but even last year in his down year, he led the team in hitting. So I'm going to go with Jeff McNeil. I think he'll get it going eventually. What he's going to hit, I don't know. That'll be kind of indicative of where the team's at average-wise. But overall, this is a team that is not very well rounded when it comes to average. It's certainly not going to be a guy like Harrison Bader who keeps getting benched despite getting paid big money to be here. So I'll say McNeil finds a way to get it going here when it gets a little warmer, and he will be the one to lead the team in average.
That would be huge for the team, and everybody would love to see him regain his batting title status and live up to that level of production. And certainly I don't think you can count out players once they've had a track record of success like Jeff McNeil, not just a guy who's had one fluky season, but who has hit 300 in several of his major league seasons and in most of his minor league seasons too. So I think that could be a great guess, and hopefully he starts getting going offensively as well.
They'll definitely need him if they want to be able to compete. So how have you been feeling about the lineup so far that have been trotting out there? To me, it's just too many moving parts right now. Cycling all these guys in now. Let's get a little consistency here, in my opinion. Let's get some guys like 2, 3, 4 games in a row before we're subbing them out every other day here.
There's something to be said for that, and perhaps soon they'll have a more consistent lineup that they're running out there. I think they're still kind of getting a good sense of who is going to be productive and who isn't. You still have guys like DJ Stewart, who has had several starts at DH, who is still looking for his first hit of the season. So you have to kind of see whether these guys are going to kick it into gear or if they're going to continue struggling. And certainly we also have to mention the JD Martinez factor. He's still ramping up in St. Lucie and trying to get himself back in playing shape, because obviously if you don't have spring training to get yourself in shape for the season, then it's tough to all of a sudden come out the gate and start hitting. So they're going to give him as much, I believe they'll give him as much time as he needs. He's dealing with some soreness right now. So certainly when JD Martinez comes in, you're probably going to slot him as the cleanup hitter or the third hitter, give Pete Alonso some more protection. One thing I will say that I really like about the lineup construction in the early going is that you're seeing the young kids get some chances. I feel like last year, Beatty and Alvarez were often left in the bottom of the order, 7th, 8th, 9th. And even when Alvarez was hitting really well, he didn't get that many chances to hit cleanup or higher in the order. So the fact that we're seeing Beatty hit cleanup, we're seeing Alvarez hit cleanup so early in the season, I think that's a great sign. And that's
Beatty's going to be hitting 4-5 this season all year.
Maybe Beatty will lead them in batting average. You never know.
We're going to say Anthony Rivera, Nick and Matt, my guys. Anthony, thanks for tuning in.
We love Anthony. So you don't know, but I love seeing the kids get a shot, because you don't know what you have in those kids unless they get those opportunities. And certainly in the early going, you got to see what they have. And Brett Beatty's looked great on both sides of the ball thus far.
Yeah, leave Beatty in there. When Alvarez is getting a game off, JD's not here, he should DH. You can't have Alvarez out of the lineup. So lots to still be figured out here. Not getting a great read on Carlos Mendoza yet. I think he's still trying to find his footing, we'll say. So we'll see if he gets more time, what happens. But yeah, JD Martinez, not great that he's dealing with soreness right now. They need him as soon as possible. We're hoping to get him for this series against the Braves. Not going to be the case, so maybe we'll see him over the weekend back at Citi Field, just in time for the Doc Gooden retirement ceremony. And JD Martinez, though, if he comes in and he does what he usually does, and you still have Alvarez continuing to mash, batting 5, and Beatty's actually hitting good, and Marte's still hitting good, that's a deep lineup, assuming Lindor can figure it out and McNeil and Nimmo are going to get going. So that would be huge. And that's going to be the way they win this year if they can. It's going to be getting some good offense moving forward here. So we talked about the entertainment aspect before. It didn't happen when you were there, but you still got to see the lights. Edwin Diaz makes his Citi Field re-debut, and he gets his first save over the weekend. He's looked great so far, but what was it like with the new fancy light setup in Citi Field when Edwin Diaz came out?
Yeah, seeing those lights in action and getting to do a run through, really exciting. And certainly, hopefully we have a packed house when he's able to come into a safe situation at Citi Field during a night game. So we need a few things to happen. We need a lot of people in the park. We'd like to have a night game and certainly a lead to protect in the 9th inning. But certainly when that happens, it's going to be really exciting. People have probably seen little glimpses here and there of the lights. But our LED display this year at the ballpark is really exciting, and we can't wait for people to see that. So having Diaz back this year, I just think brings a whole new energy to the team, and certainly for us, within the organization, we're all very excited to have him back. So keeping him healthy is of the utmost priority this season.
All right, Matt. So Diaz, they're gonna need to rely on him a lot because the bullpen to me is pretty shaky. But I don't know how many times they're gonna get to him with the lead, just because the starting pitching, it's pretty rough. None of the guys can really go past 5 innings, and then you get that middle bullpen. It's kind of like iffy. So we'll see what happens there. But Braves series starts tonight. How do you see that playing out? I think it's going to be status quo for the Mets down in Atlanta these last few years.
It's a huge series, and it's never easy going in there to Atlanta. No matter how confident you're feeling in your team, I think just going to that ballpark into enemy territory, obviously we know the chop is extremely intimidating. So this is going to be a test for them. This is I hate to say that a 4-game series in April is critical, but it's certainly going to show us a lot about this team and how competitive they are against the juggernauts of the National League and of all baseball. So the Braves are a tough test. How do I think the series is going to go? I think being on the road and considering how things go for them in Atlanta normally, you hope you get a split. You hope you don't get swept. I hope they play good baseball, and if they win the series, that would be amazing. But certainly just the way that they've been struggling to get things going so far and how stacked the Braves are, it's going to be a challenge. So I think it's going to be a tough series, but hopefully they hang in there and get a couple wins. Yeah,
I mean, you would take a split. That would be okay, I guess. But eventually the Mets need to start winning series because they're already behind the 8 ball with the way they played to start the season at home. So it's going to be an uphill battle for sure. The lineup tonight: Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Marte, DJ Stewart, Jeff McNeil, and Joey Wendell. So not ideal when you have 2 players batting 0 on the season in your lineup. So we'll see how that's
the first time for everything, and they're going to get those first hits eventually.
Yeah. Julio Teheran on the mound tonight. I'm feeling like he's going to get absolutely lit up. I'm going to say Travis d'Arnaud and Jared Kelenic combined for 5 RBI against the Mets tonight. That's my prediction for the first game of the season against
former Mets prospect.
Travis d'Arnaud is the ultimate Met killer. I mean, that was the biggest mistake, DFAing him after like 6 at-bats a few years ago.
Yeah, we'll see. I know Kelenic, he had a very tough spring training, but he's off to a great start there. So we'll see. I mean, that's the thing. We are only 9 games into the season so far, so I hate to sound like a nerd, but it is a very small sample size. So I think for a lot of teams and a lot of players, we haven't quite seen exactly.
Once the Mets go to London, that'll be the marker of like where they're at in the season when they make that trip. That'll tell you a lot about the season moving forward here. But this has been great, Matt. We'll do it again. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media and promote whatever else you want to promote right now. This is your time to shine.
Absolutely. So if you want to get the latest in Mets news and see what we're cooking up over at Citi Field, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is at Searle Baseball. Same for Instagram, Searle Baseball, Searle Baseball. And you can also read some of my articles I write about baseball as well at searlebaseball.com. So hopefully gain some followers, and hopefully I can see some people at the ballpark this year. We've got so much cool entertainment cooking up for you. So we'll love to see you at the ballpark, and hopefully we'll get some wins as well.
All right. Befriend Matt on Twitter. Maybe you'll get lucky enough, get behind the scenes all access tour. You never know. You never know if Matt could pull some strings with the Mets ownership.
No promises, but certainly a lot of great stuff coming from my social media accounts.
There you go. All right. Make sure you're following Bleav in the Mets on all social media platforms. And of course, you have to subscribe to YouTube. You never want to miss an episode now that we're live. So subscribe. And you'll never, ever miss out anything at BLEAVINTHEMETS, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's there. You got to be following. I'm on X at Nick_Durst, and I am on Instagram, Nick's Food and Stuff. And that's going to do it here for this episode of Bleav in the Mets. Matt, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see what happens this week in the Mets world. It's always going to be eventful. And until next time, everybody, let's just hope for the best and let's go Mets.